couple of weeks ago was Easter, which is arguably the most important holiday of the year. Back home in the States, the churches are always full on Easter. Millions of Americans will go to church only on Easter and Christmas. To me, this just shows how much we take church for granted, but I didn't really realize this until I moved to Africa. Currently, I live in Malawi, which is a small country in southeastern Africa. Growing up, every single Easter Sunday, I was in church. And so honestly, when I came here to Malawi, I had some similar expectations of what Easter would look like, but I was surprised. The churches here aren't any more full on Easter than they are on a normal Sunday. There isn't this mass wave of people that dress up really nice only to come to church once or twice a year. I've only lived here in Malawi for a short time so far, but it's already shown me how much I take the church for granted. I mean, imagine if you didn't have a church on your street. And for 1 billion people in the world, that's a true statement. They have no church that they have access to even be a part of. And in my life, a lot of it has looked like church being a burden and not a blessing. It's something that I'll try to avoid if I can. But over the past few years, what I've learned is that when we start to see church not as an obligation, but as a chance to be around God's people, our hearts can really change. All my best friends in the States go to the same small Baptist church as I do. But last Sunday, I went to a church without a building. This church was under a tree in a village and was only 3 or 4 weeks old, yet many people were gathered there. What was odd to me is that growing up in the South, the Bible Belt, if you will, people would always ask, hey, where do you go to church? It was almost like an assumption that you went, and a great way for us to begin a conversation is just to talk about where you go and where I go. But in this village, these people didn't have a building. The church wasn't at this address to be visited once a week, but instead it was truly a people. And one of the things that I think this does is it makes you embrace what the church is actually supposed to do. You know, our church buildings actually put up walls between us and the world, like a physical wall. And if you had to go to church in a village around people that you work with every day, that you live with every day, you really have to begin to decide, do I believe Romans 1:16, that I'm unashamed of the gospel? Because there's no hiding. When you're sitting under this tree, singing worship songs as loud as you can, your neighbors are going to know that you believe in Jesus. And when they walk by on a Sunday and look at you like, man, what is this guy doing? It's a testimony to your belief in the gospel. I want you to hear me the right way on this. I love the American church. It's the bride of Christ. But I also don't believe that we do everything right. And my goal living here in Malawi isn't to export the American church to Malawi. In fact, I think there's a lot more that I can learn than I can give. Let me summarize with this. And so, dear brothers and sisters, we can boldly enter heaven's most holy place because of the blood of Jesus. By his death, Jesus opened a new and life-giving way through the curtain into the most holy place. And since we have a great high priest who rules over God's house, let us go right into the presence of God with sincere hearts, fully trusting him. For our guilty consciences have been sprinkled with Christ's blood to make us clean, and our bodies have been washed with pure water. Let us hold tightly without wavering to the hope we affirm, for God can be trusted to keep his promise. Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. And let us not neglect our meeting together, as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near.